Hello, my name is Gina Hinwood. In this podcast, I'm going to summarise our paper, Survival of Individuals with Cerebral Palsy in Victoria, Australia, a longitudinal cohort study spanning 4 decades. We thought it important to conduct this study as population-based information on length of survival based on combinations of clinical characteristics is informative for people with cerebral palsy, CP, and their families, clinicians, epidemiologists, and legal counsel. Life expectancy in CP informs service planning and public health policy. Previous studies have mostly failed to show improvements in survival over time. The aims of the study were to provide an updated description of the rates, trends, and predictors of mortality for people with CP born in Victoria, and to examine if any recent improvement in survival might be attributable to changes in severity profiles of this population. We conducted this population-based study at Murdoch Children's Research Institute in Victoria. The cohort consisted of individuals diagnosed with CP that were born in Victoria between the 1st of January 1970 and the 31st of December 2012 and were registered with the Victorian Cerebral Palsy Register. We obtained death data to the 30th of June 2017 via data linkage with the Australian National Death Index. Clinical data were obtained from the Register's databank. The study cohort comprised 4,807 individuals with CP. There were 666 deaths during the study period. This Kaplan-Meier graph shows the survival estimates, the dark green line, and the 95% confidence intervals, the light green shading, for persons with CP born in Victoria. The probability of survival to age 5 for this cohort was 96.7%. To age 15 was 91.8%, to age 30 was 83.3%, and to age 40 was 77.8%. Hazard ratios revealed that being male was associated with 1.05 times increased risk of death compared with females. Compared with diplegia, having quadriplegia was associated with 15.04 times increased risk of death. We found that those in our cohort with severe CP were 23.19 times at increased risk of dying than those with mild CP. People with CP that experienced epilepsy had an increased risk of death 4.83 times that of those without epilepsy. Those who were blind, 3.53 times that of those who were not blind. Those who were deaf, 2.58 times that of those who were not deaf. Those who were non-verbal, 15.72 times that of those who could not speak. And being intellectually disabled was associated with a 10.16 times increased risk of death compared with that of those not intellectually disabled. We calculated age-specific mortality rates for this cohort and compared them with that of the general Victorian population, creating age-specific mortality ratios. Mortality was higher for individuals with CP at every age, particularly those between the ages of 1 and 14, with mortality rates 45 to 62 times that of the general population. We also estimated the probability of survival by level of motor severity and number of additional impairments or conditions. Mortality trends by birth epoch for all CP showed comparatively better survival to 15 years for persons with CP born in the 2000s compared with those born between 1970 and 1999. We compared mortality trends by birth epoch for those with complex CP and those with non-complex CP. Mortality risk to age 15 relative to the 1970 birth epoch, unadjusted for medical complexity of CP for those born in the 2000s, showed 35% reduction in risk of death. Adjusted for medical complexity of CP, this reduction in risk of death was 27%. In summary, we found that most children with CP survived to adulthood. Length of survival had improved for Victorians with CP born this millennium, but greater medical complexity was still associated with decreased length of life. Compared to the general population, mortality rates were higher for all age groups to 47 years and highest for those aged under 15 years, similar findings to that of our previous study. Improvement in survival to 15 years was seen amongst all persons with CP born between 2000 and 2012 compared to previous decades. A small improvement in length of survival was seen for children with complex CP. We determined that overall, improved survival was mainly due to a proportional reduction in complex CP. Rates of complex CP in births since the year 2000 have reduced more than non-complex CP. This is supported by our data and elsewhere and has resulted in a proportional reduction of complex CP. At this stage, it is not possible to fully ascertain the longevity of the improved survival shown in this study. With further data from subsequent birth years, we may see a catch-up effect. Thank you for watching this presentation.